I walked out of a deployment briefing into handcuffs. No warning, no hesitation. The steel bit into my wrists before I could even ask why. "You're under arrest for your father-in-law's death." The words didn't register at first. Death him. I'd just seen the old man 3 days ago, smug as always, drunk on his own control. And yet here I was being paraded past men I'd led into combat, reduced to a criminal before their eyes. Court moved quickly, too quickly. My own son, my blood, took the stand and swore he saw me do it. His voice didn't shake. His gaze never met mine. My wife filed the papers that same week. Divorce, custody, assets, as if she had been waiting, pen in hand, for this moment to arrive. Now I sat in a courtroom, chains on my wrists, while the judge leaned forward and asked if I had anything to add before sentencing. I slid one sealed envelope across the table. He opened it, eyes scanning words he hadn't expected to see. His face drained, then hardened. "Bafes," he said, voice sharp. "Lock the doors." The silence that followed was heavier than any sentence could have been. I used to believe betrayal was loud. A slam of the door, a shouted confession, the sting of a slap. But betrayal is quiet, calculated. It waits until you're distracted, then guts you from the inside out. My wife had been the architect, my son the accomplice, my father-in-law the perfect corpse to hang around my neck, and me, I was the mark. The old man had always despised me, too disciplined, too unshakable, a soldier who saw through his games. He wanted control, and I denied it to him. I thought his death might finally end the power plays. Instead, it became their weapon. Looking back, the signs were there. My wife's late-night whispers on the phone. The way she closed her laptop when I walked in. The practiced smile that never reached her eyes. I told myself she was just tired. That marriage eroded under time and silence. But she hadn't been eroding. She had been planning. And the boy, my boy, stood on that stand and swore I was a killer. He didn't flinch. Didn't hesitate. That was when I understood he wasn't just testifying. He was rehearsed. And betrayal didn't just come from the woman I had shared my bed with. It had seeped into my own bloodline. The world believed I was cornered. I let them believe it. I sat in the cell, ate the meals, answered questions with rehearsed calm. But inside, every detail was being catalogued, every timeline mapped, every inconsistency filed like a blade waiting to be drawn. I requested discovery, witness lists, forensics, paperwork. They thought I'd never have the patience to sift through. But patience was my oldest weapon. The autopsy was too clean. The times didn't align. Phone records suggested calls that never should have been made. And then hidden in the debris of data, I found it. A bank transfer. A whisper of motive buried in numbers. My wife's name. My son's signature. Money funneled in silence weeks before the death. It wasn't grief that tightened my chest. It was vindication. They thought they had buried me alive, but in their haste, they'd left fingerprints on the shovel. I didn't rage. Rage was wasteful. I planned. I drafted my answer not in words, but in evidence, sealed, unopened, waiting for the one moment they thought I was beaten. That moment arrived in the courtroom. The judge's eyes slid across the page. His lips tightened. He read it once, then again, as though repetition might soften what he saw. It didn't. The documents laid it bare. Falsified testimony. Payments traced, recordings transcribed, a conspiracy woven not in shadows, but in arrogance. My wife gasped before she could stop herself. My son stared at me wide-eyed, the first crack in his carefully built performance. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The truth, when armed properly, doesn't require a voice. It detonates silently. The judge's voice cut through the silence. "Bafes, lock the doors." For the first time since the handcuffs closed, I breathed without weight. She turned to me, lips trembling. You, how long have you known? I met her gaze with the calm of a man who had already buried every illusion long enough. The evidence spread across the bench like an autopsy of her lies. The affair, the payments, the manipulation of our son. Every secret she had sharpened against me now lay blunt and useless in the open air. Her hands shook. My son's eyes darted, boyish fear bleeding through the mask of certainty. I leaned forward, chains clinking softly. You thought I was blind, but blindness is a choice. I watched, I waited, and I let you hang yourself. Her tears came then, loud, desperate. They were meant for sympathy, for mercy. They found neither. The trial ended not with a gavel, but with silence. She was led away. My son followed, his steps heavy, the weight of betrayal settling too late. And I sat there calm, detached, not victorious, not broken, simply free of illusions. People think betrayal destroys you. But in truth, it refines you. It strips away sentiment, leaving only clarity. I walked out of that courtroom not as a husband, not as a father, not as an accused man. I walked out as something colder, stronger, unbound. And when the doors closed behind me, I realized the final truth. They had tried to bury me, but I was the one who held the shovel. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Subscribe now to Cheating Stories Insight World for more amazing stories.